to do our part, to make a difference for good. You know, I believe in things like destiny. I believe in purpose. I believe that life has a meaning, and that our sole obligation in this life is to figure out what it is we're meant to do. What's our purpose? What's our destiny? And once we answer that question, our responsibility is then to make it a reality. That's what we must do. I firmly believe that. I truly do. And I believe that destiny is not determined by coincidence, nor do I believe that it's determined by chance or a random sequence of events. I believe that destiny is determined by choice. Choice. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. Right, Mr. Crail?
Absolutely.
See, I believe that destiny is determined by the choices we make in this life. The choices we make in this life determine the path we take and the life that we will live. I firmly believe that. And when we accept that reality, we accept a very difficult truth, which is the truth that sometimes certain things happen that are not within our control. And that can be a really painful thing to accept. The idea of planning for something and then realizing that it doesn't come to fruition. You know, I realized that the last time many of us were gathered together like this was probably my college graduation, which was about 5 years ago. And when I think about all that's happened in the course of those 5 years, I can't help but ask myself, what would that version of myself think about this version? Would he be happy? Would he be proud in the decisions and choices I've made? Would he be disappointed? In order to really ask that question in a fair way, I've got to put it in its context. In the context of those 5 years. And I realized that a lot's happened in those 5 years. And I'm sure many of you could relate to that. Much has happened to us in these last 5 years. Plans, expectations, some of which were realized, some of which were not realized. There were painful setbacks. There was hurtful moments. There were times where I really experienced pain. And as many of you know, I was down. I was definitely down. But I got up. And when I got up, I came to the realization that you cannot decide what life is going to give you. But you can decide what you're going to do with it. That's destiny. That's destiny. That's what I believe destiny is. The choices we make. The choices we make in this life. And I got to tell you, you know, this decision that I've made, this choice that I've made, you know, it wasn't necessarily a popular one. It certainly was a controversial one. You know, I had people telling me, you're an idiot. I had people telling me, you know, what are you, crazy? You're out of your mind. You know, that's the wrong decision you're making. The people who worked at Dunkin' Donuts, like, you know, attacked me practically, you know. Hey, man, I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. I had one woman at school, an older woman, actually hit me. She hit me. She gave me a good hit, and then she shoved me. Like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're out of your mind. You're out of your brain.
No, you're not.
And I was like, yep, I've heard that before. And I'm still hearing it today. And you know what? At first, it really upset me. Like, it really bothered me. I couldn't understand, especially people I love and care about giving me such grief. You know, I couldn't understand why they were giving me such a hard time. Because this is a tough decision I'm making. This is a difficult decision I'm making. And here are the people I love and care about not giving me the support that I feel I should get. But then I realized something. I realized something pretty cool. I realized that it was coming from a place of love. They cared about me. They want the best for me. You know? It wasn't in a malicious way. And that gave me perspective. And that perspective gave me gratitude. And I'm so grateful for every one of you. I'm so thankful for that. You know, but I had to ask myself, why? Why is it that people feel so, you know, uppity about this decision I've made? And then there were the obvious reasons. Here I'm leaving a job that a lot of people are trying to get into in an economy where the unemployment rate is continually climbing. And of course I'm making the decision to enlist in the military during a time of war, which people can't even begin to fathom that. They can't understand that. And on the surface, those are the reasons that got people really uppity. But when I go beyond that, what I think has got a lot of people uncomfortable is the fact that it's a risk. I'm taking a risk. And people get very uncomfortable when it comes to the subject of risks. I understand that. Because, hey, sometimes when you take a risk, there's a chance you're going to fail. You know, and some risks, there's a greater chance that you're going to fail. But here's the thing. Here's the dilemma that I've encountered. Risks must be taken. Risks must be taken. Because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. The person who risks nothing, has nothing, is nothing. He may avoid suffering and sorrow for a time, but he cannot learn, he cannot feel, he cannot grow, he cannot change, he cannot love. Only a person who takes risks is free. Only a person who takes risks is free. And so, to quote Theodore Roosevelt again, one of my favorites, never throughout history has a man who's lived a life of ease ever left a name worth remembering. So I realize the path I'm about to take is a difficult one, and it's fraught with a great many challenges. But I choose to look at those challenges as opportunities. As opportunities. I choose to look at those challenges as opportunities. And I know that if I can continually live my life with that perspective, then I will aspire to greatness. I know I'm meant for greatness. And I can say that to every one of you with the utmost humility, because I believe that to be true for every one of us in this room. We're all meant for something great. Every one of us. Every one of us. Think about that for a minute. Just think about that for a minute. Every one of us in this room is meant for something great, something spectacular, something monumental. And all you need to do is confront your fears. Confront your fears. And as Nelson Mandela put it, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. You hear me, Mom? Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, fabulous, gorgeous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve God. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within you. And it is not in some of us, it is in everyone. And as you unconsciously let your light shine, you will give people the permission to do the same. As you are liberated from your fear, your presence will automatically liberate others. We all have a destiny. God has a plan for every one of us. And that plan is part of a far larger plan. And in accepting that, we understand a difficult truth, which is all things happen for a reason. And I can understand why some people have difficulty with that. I struggle with that myself. When pain and tragedy occur, I ask myself, why? We ask ourselves, why, God? Why? Why did this have to happen? And sometimes, in those times, we have to pray for guidance. And we have to pray for acceptance. Maybe we're not meant to understand why those reasons are. But that lack of understanding doesn't mean that those reasons don't exist. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. And I can understand the difficulty you may have. But maybe, perhaps we could at least agree that we were all put in each other's lives for a reason. And when I look around this room, and I look at all these faces, it is very easy for me to see why you were placed in my life. When I look at my friend Jim DeRosa, it's very easy for me to understand why he was placed in my life. At a time in my life when I was alone, at a time in my life when I was lost and confused, and I didn't have anybody I could really go to, I was able to go to you. And you became like an older brother to me. And you were a teacher. You went above and beyond. You embraced me. You became a friend to me. And I am eternally grateful for that. Because in this day and age, for a teacher to reach out to a student like that, it takes risk. And you took that risk. And in doing that, you were one of the many people who helped me and saved my life. And I am grateful for you. I love you, Jim. You're my brother. You're the older brother I never had. I'm going to miss you. But I'm so grateful that I've had you in my life. So it's easy for me to look at Jim and understand the reason why he was placed in my life. It's easy for me to look at Mr. Valerio and understand why he was placed in my life. At the same time, when I was struggling and I had somebody like Jim come to me, I had Mr. Valerio come to me. And he was one of the men who put me on my path towards God. And I don't know where I would be without God. You know, when I was at my darkest, he was the one who was reminding me to always choose joy. And when there were things that were going on at home and I didn't know whether I was coming or going, you know, you offered your home to me and you loved me. And I'm so grateful for that, Mr. Valerio, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And I know that, you know, you were one of the reasons, like Jim, that I wanted to become a teacher. I wanted to reach out to kids who were struggling, experiencing pain, and I wanted to make a difference in their lives the way you two gentlemen did. You saved my life. You know, you saved my life. And I'm not being melodramatic when I say that. I am being genuine. And I love you both, and I love Mrs. Valerio. And Jimmy, I love your wife and your children and your brother-in-law. You've welcomed me into your home, and I am so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. When I look at Brian, it's easier for me to understand why he was placed in my life, the reason he was put in my life. He was my friend, and we didn't always see eye to eye when it came to political things or, you know, various issues, religious, spiritual things, but we respected each other, and that respect, that mutual respect exists because he's a man of integrity, he's a man of character, and he's a loyal and good and honest friend. And I think of Shannon, and how Shannon has recently been brought into my life, and the crap that she's put up from me. You know, I know I haven't always been a good friend, but you have been there. You've stuck through, and for that I'm grateful. You've been a true friend, a true friend. I'm so grateful for that. You know, I mean, I look at every one of you in this room, and I can't help but see all of the reasons why you were placed in my life. I look at Andrew. Andrew, I remember when I first met Andrew when I was in college. You know, and on the surface, and at first, initially, our friendship was really based on just screwing around and laughing and joking, and, you know, we had the same warped, sick, twisted humor, and we make each other laugh. I mean, but just by doing this, makes him laugh. And everybody else is like, "Yeah, you crazy, what are you doing?" But we just do it, and we start cracking up. Because we had that sick mentality, you know? It's a good mentality. But as I got to know Andrew, some of you are probably thinking, what the hell is he talking about? But as I got to know Andrew, there's so much depth to Andrew that a lot of people don't fully know, you know, and people close to him don't necessarily appreciate it, because he's this funny guy, and that's a great gift, the sense of humor he has. But more than that, you go beyond that. If you're fortunate enough to get to know Andrew the way I've gotten to know him, you see that he's a great friend. And, I mean, I'm blessed in that respect, but many people know that in terms of friends, you're lucky if you've got one or two or three that you can really count on. And I don't know that Andrew is a friend I can count on. He's somebody I love, somebody I care, somebody I know I can count on to make me laugh. But he's also somebody I can count on to listen to me when I'm having a difficult time. He's somebody who's always been there. I look at Billy and Megan and Jim and Molly and Steve, you know, and your significant others, Sarah and Amanda. You know, I'm just so grateful for the friendship that you've all given me. I'm blessed. I really am blessed. I mean that. And Steve, you know, you and I have had our conversations, but I think you and I, you know, we're very much on the same wavelength, and I'm grateful for that. I really am grateful for all of you. And I think of the friends that I've made, like Steve and Jesse, you know, and Brian, many of the other friends I've made, Peggy, Colleen, Joan. You know, I don't want to forget anybody, but all of you, and you know how we've connected and where we've come from. You've given me a faith, a different kind of faith. Like I was introduced to God by Mr. Valerio, but you've given me a different type of faith that I am so grateful for. And the lessons that you've taught me, I'm truly blessed. I'm truly blessed. When I look at Mark, and I look at his family, the friendship that I've made not very long ago. But I can honestly say, up until I met Mark and was welcomed into his family, I was pretty sure about my decision to join the Navy. But as I got closer to their family, I seriously started to question it. I'm going to continue. I'm going to go forward and do what I need to do. But you've made it hard for me. I love you all so much. Thank you for everything you've done for me. The love that you've given me, the friendship you've given me, the family that you've given me. You'll be in my life forever. And I'm so grateful for it. Thank you. You know, I look at my aunt and I realize there was a time when things were difficult in my life. My Aunt Betsy was always there for me. She was always there to make me laugh. But she also welcomed me into her home when I didn't have any place to go. And she became like a mother to me. And I really am blessed to have her and Uncle Joe, the man that he is. My Uncle Joe, you know, he's the man who taught me that what the man can perceive, the man can achieve. He's the one who really instilled in me the idea that if you put your mind to something, you can make it happen. And I'm grateful for that. And I love you, Uncle Joe. I love you, Aunt Betsy, and Aunt Kathy, the wisdom and the insight that you've given me. You know, I've learned a lot from you. And I feel bad because I know there are times when, you know, we may not have seen eye to eye, but I love you so much, Aunt Kathy. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to have you. And my cousins, how much I love you all. You've been so wonderful, Frank. I love you all. I'm going to miss you. I look at my mother, and I know things have been hard for both of us. And I know that sometimes we say hurtful things, but I want the best for you. I really mean that. I want the best for you, and I love you with all my heart.